how can you be a Christian nationalist? And how could you be anti-Semitic when Jesus was a Jew? It's like, well, but Jesus was also God. And so in a sense, it's like Jesus was the first Christian because he claimed to be God.
Right.
And that's a Christian belief that Jesus is God. Jews don't think that Jesus is God. And so basically every person that continued calling themselves a Jew rather than becoming a Christian, they're defined by their rejection of Jesus. They were God's chosen, and yet they reject Christ. And so I don't know how you can have a nation, they call it a nation of priests, but it's a nation of priests that don't worship the true and living God, which is Jesus. And so I never understood how people that really love, and I'm not calling into question their faith, I'm highlighting the contradiction. They call themselves Judeo-Christian or Christian Zionist. How can they support a nation of people that don't worship Jesus? And I pointed out on the Alex Jones show earlier, in Israel, they tried to ban the teaching of the gospel. Now, how as a Christian do you support that? You could go back, this is back in spring, they have some pretty radical guys in the Netanyahu government where they said, we want to prohibit the preaching of the gospel punishable by jail time in the Holy Land. At the same time, they have these Jews that spit on Christians making their pilgrimage there. And they attack the local Christian community, which has been there uninterrupted since the time of Jesus. And when they get attacked for that, they say, well, spitting on Christians is a tradition here.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
how can Christians support? They can support banning the gospel, spitting on Christians. I mean, I see that stuff, it makes my skin crawl. And you also have to go into their Talmud. A lot of people don't even know about that, but the Talmud is the real Jewish holy book because Jews believe that Moses didn't just receive the 10 Commandments. They believe that Moses also received an oral law from God that was never written down and was passed down orally through the generations among the Jews. When the temple was destroyed after Jesus's coming, the Jews wrote down the oral tradition because they feared it would be lost without the temple being a central gathering place. This becomes a Babylonian, Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmud. And you go into the Talmud and it says Jesus is in hell, in excrement. His mother's a prostitute. He's an illegitimate child. And, you know, people realize this in the Middle Ages in France and Spain and Italy. The original Judeo-Christian were the Jews that converted to Christianity. And they came to the Christians in these places and said, you will not believe what Jews believe, what they write in their holy book. And when the Christians found out, they burned the Talmud. And there was these big anti-Semitic so-called expulsions and so on. And anyway, so when I look at stuff like that and the whole historical record, I'm like, people that love Jesus, I don't know how we're going to be in league with the people that reject, hate, spit on, and want to ban his word in the Holy Land. I don't know how we come together as friends. That, to me, is unacceptable.